Anna Penny. On my Survey Monkey questionnaire, I asked all of you to respond as to whether or not you had ever heard of any cults, or of any cult leaders in particular. Out of the entire class, only 2 of you replied yes, giving responses such as the Ku Klux Klan and Jim Jones. The rest of you, however, replied with no. This is Charles Manson, and prior to 1969, he was able to convince individuals to follow him. And by the year 1969, he was able to convince these individuals to kill for him. Cults are in our history, and our history shapes who we are today. If we don't learn, then we could have the potential to join a cult in our future. If we don't learn from the past, then we can move forward and learn how to avoid becoming a part of these dangerous cults. Today, I hope to better your knowledge on what a cult is, the characteristics of a cult leader, along with how cults operate, and why cults are dangerous for the individuals who get involved. So let's move on to discuss what a cult is. According to dictionary.com, a cult is a religion or sect considered to be false, unorthodox, and extremist, with members living often outside the conventional society under the direction of a charismatic leader. The important thing to remember about cults is that they have a strong belief in one thing or person. For example, the followers for Charles Manson thoroughly believed that he was the next Jesus Christ. Next, we'll be discussing what the characteristics of a cult leader are, along with how cults operate. According to Madeline Landau from her book, Captive Hearts, Captive Minds, she states, these cult leaders have an intuitive ability to sense their followers' needs and draw them closer with promises of fulfillment. These leaders are very confident, they hold a high sense of charisma, and they often appear to have a personal connection with God. Next, let's move on to how cults operate. In an article written by Jason Liu from ultraculture.org, he states Dr. Robert J. Lifton's 8 criteria as to how cults operate. The first criteria is Malou control, which is where the leader controls all the information and communication which is expressed within the environment. Through this picture, as you can see, the creepy guy with the glasses is controlling all the information that this prisoner has to listen, hear, and see. The second criteria is mystical manipulation, which is where a spontaneous event occurs which allows for the leader to appear divine or godlike. This is Jim Jones, and he also was a cult leader, and he was able to have his followers drink this sort of Kool-Aid poison, and in return he killed hundreds of people. Whenever he gave his sermons and speeches, he looked very divine and godlike. The third criteria is demand for purity, which is where the members of the cult want to be looked upon as being reborn or free from sin. When individuals join a cult, they don't want to have their past life and sin on their shoulder. It's kind of like being baptized with a much more serious meaning. The fourth criteria is confession, which is where everything is shared. Within a cult, there's absolutely no confidentiality. Everyone knows everything about everyone. The fifth criteria is a sacred science, which is where only the cult's ideas and beliefs are right. Everything else is wrong in the viewpoint of the cult. The sixth, is loading language, which is where certain words pertain certain meaning, but only to the members within the cult. For example, words to us, such as love, power, strength, and loyalty, have certain meaning. However, to the individuals within a cult, these words can have meanings on the complete opposite side of the spectrum. The seventh criteria is the doctrine over person, which is where an individual's personal experience must fit in order to agree with the ideas of the cult. As stated in the sentence, the cult way is the only and right way. Every other idea or belief is wrong. The eighth and final criteria is the dispensing of existence, which is where the individuals in the cult believe that the people outside of the cult need to be saved. For example, Susan Atkins was a follower of Charles Manson, and she thoroughly believed that he was the next Jesus Christ. She, along with 3 or 4 others, killed the entire Tate family. After killing the family, she had this to say: to taste death and yet to give life. Wow, what a trick. She felt absolutely no remorse for this violent crime that she had committed. And the mother of the Tate family, who she had killed at the time, was pregnant. Cults are effective and they're manipulative. And there are still cults who are manipulating individuals today. When I was looking up information as to what cults are, I happened to find that there are many websites that have helplines. I personally had believed that cults were a thing of the past, mainly from the 60s and 70s. I didn't realize that they were a present issue and that this topic needs to be addressed. According to FamilySurvivalTrust.org, cults are dangerous because they are disassociative, often separating members from family and friends, and they tend to be psychologically manipulative in order to control commercially or sexually their followers. Cults harm the individuals both in and outside of the cult. Now granted, not all cults are dangerous, evil, or even have a negative effect on individuals. However, a vast majority of these cults do harm individuals in some form or another. We need to have a better understanding of what cults are, what they are like, and their effect on people. It's important to remember that cults have a strong belief in one thing or person, and that their followers regard and believe in their leader. These cult leaders have a high self-esteem and charisma, and the cults operate under the ideas of control, manipulation, purity, confession, sacred science, loaded language, disclosure over the person, and the dispensing of existence. And when people join a cult, they in turn lose sight of themselves. They lose sight of their self-concept and self-image. And when they lose themselves, they can in turn endanger others. Cults are in our history, and they won't be disappearing anytime soon, because they're also in our present. It's important to learn about cults, how they are formed, what they believe in, along with how they harm people. Because through learning these facts about cults, we can learn how to avoid becoming a part of something unsafe. This is Charles Manson today. He is currently still in prison for having other individuals commit over at least 30 murders for him. He was able to convince his followers to kill for him. Through learning about cults, we can find a way to avoid becoming someone we never want to be, which is someone who forgets their own self.